Hi there. We're here to talk today about the new notary laws that have been passed for Texas notaries. I'm Brenda Stone.
And I'm Jake Burkhalter, and we are going to focus today on this first episode of important changes to the Texas notarial laws that come in effect on September 1st. And we're actually going to dust off an old procedure that's being brought back that will now be in effect January 1st. We've got two dates to add to our arsenal of knowledge today. Quickly, I want to talk about one bill that did not really get wings and fly. It had legs and started crawling, and that's House Bill 3657, which many of you by now probably heard a little bit about it. And that was the first effort ever, or at least in most of our modern commission periods, to have mandatory education. Unfortunately, once it went to the panel, it had a lot of interest. Once the opposition spoke, the panel really did not favor, say, the opposition. Mainly, they made a notation that a lot of the people were in the same alliance for the same cause, and almost gave the vibes that there was too much of a monopoly over our industry and our trade. But there was a speaker at the very end that actually represented support for the bill with limitations, but it was really in the interest of the citizens. And that's really what we're supposed to be doing anyways as public servants. And when the last speaker, she exited the platform, the panel with no hesitation had said, wow, this is our first our party on the panel that actually favored, the citizens. So we thought from there it's actually going to take flight because we need this, right? But it didn't. I think we'll digress later as to what happened and what have you. Hopefully in the next session in 2025, they'll put it back on the table.
Can I say a word or two about that, Jake?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, what was going on there is that there are Texas companies that teach notary laws, or they teach a notary course or whatever, and they're just worried that company in California might be able to get in and teach, or a company from, I think there's one in Iowa or Idaho. And so anyway, there was a lot of concern that we keep that just where they could teach it. But the committee saw through that. That's what I think by their comments.
And the party that really kind of was the drive behind it was the Dallas or assistant district
Yep.
attorney, who
Yep.
sees this in the trenches every day and said, there's a real problem here. So you really can't get any more authentic from that type of source that said, hey, red flag, let's wave and see what we can get. So I was very disappointed, especially watching the video live when it was on for review and being read out loud and so forth. So again, I'm a big supporter of getting some type of mandatory education. There's just so much out there. And they really didn't discuss all the other reasons why we need to have it, but ultimately the citizens aren't benefiting. So again, I'll quit beating the dead horse there, but I was very displeased to see that. There are a few more other law updates, and Brenda, you pointed these out to me at first, so I'm gonna let you talk about these.
Okay. I'll at least get started here. We've always been, it's never been really any different than this. Notaries may not put their seal on a document without having proper notarial language on that document. A lot of times we're presented with something that somebody wants us just to sign and stamp, or if we, and if there is a certificate on it, they want us to do another page, or they want us to turn it over and stamp the back of it or something. Well, and then the other thing is that notaries are often asked to provide a copy of their seal to certain, to a company or whatever, so they know that they're working with a real notary. But we've had a new change in HB House Bill number 255 that says no longer may, it says, this is exactly what it says: a notary may not provide a copy of the notary public seal to another person, or affix or attach the notary public seal to any document except to authenticate the notary public's official act. So there you have it. No more sending your seal anywhere. And I think this is something we needed in writing. It really helps us out. Okay, the next thing is, and a lot of times when notaries have listed the type of ID in their journal that they were using to identify somebody, they would, for a while back, they told us, okay, no longer can you put the DL number or the passport number into your journal, but now we can. They have made it legal for us to record the expiration date of an ID card. So if your driver's license expires on, 9/10 of 2026, or that person that you're identifying, then you can put that in there just to show that you have looked at a DL, but you're not putting any numbers that would affect their credit, if somebody stole their ID. So Jake, I'll let you tell the one about the fees.
Okay. And then, just to recap what you just mentioned, that did not change um, any other journal limitations. So anything that identifies the person
Right,
whatsoever
right.
still remains the same. None of that's changed, right? So, I work in the title business. We've had different attorney opinions. And the last one I worked with has said, yeah, you could use expiration date because it identifies the credential, not the actual person. And of course, in Texas, we all know that the date of birth, at least the month and the day, is kind of the person, but the expiration date has nothing to do with the individual. So I'm glad to see that we actually have it in black and white, and it gives us a little bit more meat and potatoes in our journal, saying that we really did have that ID in our possession because it has a shelf life. So I'm glad to see that. Yeah, let's talk about the fees. That's actually a pretty good thing for many notaries because a lot of notaries do different business models. Some that do this, what we call general notary work, where they actually work with the citizens directly, or they just do, don't have a middleman. You're still your business owner. Those of you that are signing agents, those of you do online notarization, some of you work direct, but also some of our audience members may be escrow officers or paralegals or the UPS store, where your foot traffic is your source of business, possibly what's not necessarily a transaction. And you can actually charge now $4 additional for a total of 10 for most notarial acts. There are a few in there that are limited just to the $4 fee that didn't change, but your traditional acknowledgement, jurat, certified copy, and anything that is not listed in section 406.024 of the Texas Government Code, then any catch-all notarial acts also go up to $10. For me, as a person that does full-time online transactions, that's a huge benefit. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that small increment will help all the ancillary fees that some of the platforms charge. So it's a nice and refreshing. But Brenda, you reminded me that is up for revisit is every 5 years.
Every 5 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Secretary of State's going to look into it and see if we need a raise every 5 years. So that's kind of cool. So more exciting stuff to come here, Jake.
Shall we go ahead and do the drum roll?
Yeah, sure.
So in the pandemic, we had the crisis of where folks could not obviously travel. They were on quarantine and what have you, but obviously life still had to move forward. And so most of you will remember REN, which is remote ink signed notarizations. The buzz picked up because many states now have made that permanent. Texas did not. It had a shelf life. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was less than a year, maybe 8 months, that we had that. And that version allowed any notary, traditional or online, to, through a two-way secure video session, watch the party sign. They did not have to do anything as far as show their credential. We had to reasonably believe that it was authentic and it was the person. The documents would be sent to the notary, and then you would do a wet notarization, meaning you would fix your traditional ink seal and you would sign with ink as well. This new part, which is now law, it's not an order anymore by the governor, it's actually law, allows kind of a meeting in the middle between traditional and online. The changes, we're only going to talk about four because we're going to include all the meat and potatoes and the procedures in our next episode, so stay tuned. But primarily, the first showstopper is that only an online notary can do these, not a traditional notary. So if you ever have the interest of becoming an online notary and want to baby step it, that would be a good reason to do that if you're doing REN. The second one is that it's now a tangible document. So REN means that the party's physically signing a tangible document in their hands. They're not signing electronically. They're not using a digital certificate. They're physically going to sign it in your presence. And again, we'll talk more about that because there's a certain procedure for that. The third one is that I'm probably going to, let me do number four because I skipped number three. There are actually timestamps now that the signer or the principal has to deliver or mail rather the document to you as the notary within so many days. And then you have to be in possession and receipt of that within so many days as well. So as a notary, you have to police that and make sure that those time frames and timestamps were honored. Otherwise, the notarization is invalid. And Brenda helped me. There was one more that I already slipped my mind.
Okay, the principal did have to be in Texas before, but now the principal can be somewhere else. At least we have not seen anything that says otherwise. Let's see, time limits, and then there's going to be a couple of more things that you have to add to your or something to the certificate. But Jake and I are breaking that all down. We're going to get that just, into a set of steps and bring that to you in our next episode. Let's see. Yeah, there's going to be, it's a little bit more complicated, but we'll go into it all when we come back for the next episode. We'll get into REN, but anyhow, did I cover everything, Jake?
We did, and as you mentioned, I just want to add a little bit more to it about the Texas admin code. Just when we went through Ron,
Oh, that's
we were
right.
all kind of helpless for a couple of months until they established rules. So what we're telling you now, Secretary of State through the Administrative Code, Section 87, may add more procedures and rules. So don't hold us to the fire. This is real time as of now. Today is the 19th of August, 2023 on a Saturday. And I just want to let them know that we're coming to these guys in very raw, no box lights. We have all the equipment to do this on a more professional level, but we want to get this out to you a lot sooner because it's stuff that no one's really talking about, but could be a pivot point for many notaries and paralegals and attorneys and escrow officers. So yeah, I'm live from my kitchen. You're live from your living room.
Yeah, and I've got a cat in the background. She keeps jumping at the window. So anyway, this is real Jake and Brenda time. So this is our first episode of our new podcast and video channel. We don't even know exactly where we're going with it, but I want you to know that when we saw how many businesses were so worried about making money from notaries, from teaching notaries, and we've just seen a lot of things that we feel degrades our office because we're more interested about making the almighty dollar than to be disinterested third-party witnesses for our public citizens that we're appointed to serve, that we are just going to fill our channel full of content that will be educational. It will be based in law, and we're looking forward to being here for y'all. So Jake wanted to say something about how you can get more, how you can maybe get what you want from this podcast. Go ahead, Jake.
So now's a good time to go ahead and like and subscribe. That way, when we roll out these episodes, you're in the front row to get them. And please, in the comments of this video, anything that you found helpful, anything you want us to dive further into, We have a slate of topics that we feel that need to be elaborated on for Texas Notaries Public. But if there's anything you can think of, put in the comments. We will monitor them and certainly try to create content. And again, if you don't mind us coming from our kitchen or our living room, we're going to keep this as real and authentic as possible. It's what you guys deserve. If we put all the bells and whistles, it just takes too much time, and we would love to hear from you. So again, like us, subscribe, and we do appreciate your time and look forward to episode 2 and many more.
Yes, and I guess until next time, that's a wrap of the Notary TV podcast. Take care, everybody.